And welcome to another edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. With you, as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. We've got a lot of ground to cover here and only so many minutes to do it in. We're still waiting on a diagnosis on Rashee Rice's knee. What does that do for the Kansas City Chiefs? Without Rice, how does Patrick Mahomes need to change his game? Does he need to change it at all? If so, how does he need to change it? How much can the replacement JuJu Smith-Schuster make up for what they're going to lose in Rashee Rice? Should the Chiefs be looking at Davante Adams? How about the Chiefs and a multi-tight end set? Would that help offset the loss of Rashee Rice? How do you divide the touches in the backfield now with the emergence of Kareem Hunt? Did the Chiefs make the right choice moving on from Tyrann Mathieu? It's a lot to get to. We'll talk about the Chiefs and Saints, get our predictions. It's all coming up right now here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on the Friday edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold. Remember, if you catch us during the week via the podcast, you can also be a part of the stream. We do that usually 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night, 10 a.m. on a Friday, trying to make sure that we are giving you the very latest and greatest coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs. Gentlemen, welcome. And let's start right now with the fact that we still don't have a diagnosis on the knee of Rashee Rice. Sam, I'll start with you today on that one. They want the swelling to go down to the reports. They want a scope, try to look in on the other ligaments. So we still don't know what the diagnosis is. Most people are taking that ball and running down the field and saying this is good news, that it means that he could be back this year. What do you take from it?
I mean, Rashee Rice is going to miss a lot of time, regardless of, what there are some still unknowns with this, but those unknowns are Chiefs unknowns. So I am a little surprised that there's been conclusions made, because the Chiefs haven't even been able to make conclusions based on their own testing for this. So, I mean, he'll get tested in Dallas early next week, Monday or Tuesday. And at that point, they'll have a better idea of exactly what they're dealing with. But the certainty here is Rashee Rice is going to miss a lot of time regardless.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Jeff, what do you take from this diagnosis?
Well, exactly the same thing. And I'm not surprised people are jumping to conclusions, because that's what we do in today's world. It's that all the armchair doctors out there are lining up to get a piece of this. And look, I mean, look at Von Miller from a couple of years ago with the Buffalo Bills when he injured his knee in a Thanksgiving Day game against the Lions. It took them like a couple of weeks to figure out what it was. And he was actually talking about playing. At one point in this process, was on a podcast saying, I'll be back. And Bills fans were super excited about not losing him during the season when they thought they were going to win a championship. And they actually went in, did a scope, and found that the ACL was partially torn and had to be repaired. And it would not surprise me if that was the situation here. It's really, when you're talking about not being able to get a clear imaging because of the swelling in the knee, that's not positive news. And if it wasn't an ACL tear, they would have come out and said it wasn't an ACL tear. So, like Sam, if it's not season ending, it's going to be a pretty long time.
Yeah. Is there a scenario? Does anybody think that, this is just a hyperextension and the swelling goes down and we're talking 3-4 weeks? They put him on IR, so that means he's out at least 4 weeks. Does anybody think this could be 4-6? Or are we looking at best maybe he's back for the playoffs, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I just, to be honest, I just really don't want to be one of these internet doctors. Like, I don't want to participate in that game. Like, there's so many times when, you know, I mean, look, it's our job as reporters to ask these questions. We did ask these questions to Andy Reid yesterday. But a lot of times these questions, like, the Chiefs genuinely don't know the answer. And so for us to assume that we could potentially know an answer that they're still waiting to hear is just backwards. And this is one of those scenarios. I mean, sure. I mean, everything's in the realm of possibility until they have some sort of finality on it. But regardless of what happens, like, he's going to miss a lot of time.
Yeah. And somebody who's gone through a couple ACL reconstructions, I can tell you that there are physical tests they can do on the sideline when it happened to determine the instability of the knee. And so without knowing all the details, I'm guessing his knee is unstable and they want to know why it's unstable. Now, whether you can rehab that back, whether it takes surgery to get that back, the fact is that when they start talking about it's still a bad knee injury, a hyperextension, they can tell right away, okay, his knee is still stable. We can work with that. But this is something that is, what's the amount of damage we're talking about? It's not whether there is damage, it's what's the amount of damage. And that is, it seems like it's pretty severe.
Yeah, it does. I think we can all agree that it is, you know, not good. I mean, you just see that when it happened on the field that, you know, it was going to be something that was quite damaging to him moving forward. All right, so let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. Jeff, without Rashee Rice, is it incumbent upon Patrick Mahomes to change his game and how he plays?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's without a doubt. And really, like, he doesn't have to go back too far to find examples of how to do this. I mean, he did it in 2021. He did it the last couple of years when they've taken away the deep shot. And I think part of the problem with the way he's playing is they came into this season with such great expectations about being super explosive again. And they're calling plays with the idea of that. And the cast they put around him was created for that. And so I think he's going into a lot of these games thinking we're going to be able to hit some of these big shots and make things happen. And yeah, I think he's shown the ability to play small ball. I don't think there's any question that he's going to have to play with what he has around him. Even the highest hopes for a Xavier Worthy to become a really serious weapon really fast, there's going to be a lot of mistakes in here. And so the one thing this offense can't afford now is turnovers. Forget about the big dreams of big plays. The key is limiting turnovers and extending drives.
Sam, you agree that now they got to play some, you know, I always like to reference the 90 Giants. They got to play some conservative ground and pound, let the defense win at football, or is there a path in between those two?
No, I'm actually going to take the opposite here. I think when your offense is worse and you have fewer weapons, it makes more sense in this case to take some of the downfield risk because it ranks higher on the probability charts of earlier. I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes said something. We had an interesting conversation with him this week where he talked about the fact that you've asked him a couple times about this. You remember when he was on LeBron James' show, The Shop, and he talked about the fact that I haven't even figured out defenses yet. This was 4 years ago. Like, I'm still trying to figure out the way Tom Brady reads a defense and that sort of thing. Like, that progression has done him a lot of good. The one drawback from that growth that he's had as far as learning defenses is he now recognizes stuff pre-coverage, and he's determined too frequently this play is not going to be there because of the coverage I'm seeing before the snap. And he eliminates it in his head before the play even happens. Xavier Worthy's touchdown against the Chargers, everything about that coverage told him pre-snap, this is not going to be open. You can't throw this pass. And he decided during the week, he told Xavier Worthy at practice during the week, regardless of the coverage, if I see you even get half a step, I'm throwing it. And just be ready for me to throw it. And guess what? That safety, who is supposed to be defending Xavier Worthy, comes down and defends an over route from Travis Kelce. And so it's an example of Patrick Mahomes giving something a chance, giving it an opportunity, even though his pre-snap read told him he couldn't. And to me, Xavier Worthy now becomes one of their very best options, is attempting these passes. I mean, look, throwing a 45-yard interception when your offense isn't quite as good as what it was is not the same negative play that it would be if your offense is the 2018 offense. And as much as there was this conversation about the Chiefs trying to find the deep shot, a lot of it was, I mean, Andy Reid was needling Patrick Mahomes during practice saying, oh, you're just going to take the check down here? You're just going to take the check down here? Like, they recognized that part of this was a mentality from the quarterback that he's got to adjust. And I realized that a different personality or personnel group in 2018, his first year as a starter, than they do now. But he threw 92 passes that were at least 20 yards downfield in his first year as a starter. It led the league in completions with 44. He's thrown 7 passes more than 20 yards downfield, 5.8 per game to 1.8 per game. Like, this partly has to be a mentality switch. And I think there's no better time to do it when I doubt their ability to nickel and dime their way down the field the way they've been able to in the past. So I think they should be taking more of these risks downfield.
But is it really a risk, right? If you're going to throw it 50 yards in the air, it's as good as a punt on the other side.
Part of my point. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Part of my point is it's not the same negative EPA play that it was before.
Right.
And you lose the possession, though. That's the risk.
You do. And you
the
lose.
Possession isn't as valuable to you as it was when your offense was really good.
Yeah, but it is to the other team. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, but I don't know that you guys are really apart from each other. I don't know that both of the things that you're saying can't be true. I like what Sam's saying from the standpoint of more passes downfield will also help open up what's going on underneath, right? That safety will quit crashing down on Travis Kelce the more times you throw it. So I do think there's an element of, you got to let him know you'll do it. Right.
Yes.
And I think that was the game plan from the get-go. On that first play, he was wanting, and Sam, you talked about this on Tuesday night, he wanted to go long, and he got a lineman in his face, and he ended up kind of like, this little shot put, or not, I don't know, even side-armed, sideways throw out to the side to just salvage a couple of yards when the pressure got to him. I think they came out and said, we have to loosen them up. We've got to throw it even if it's not there. Listen, throw an incompletion. Throw it past him. If anyone's going to catch up to it, it's going to be him on the dead run. So if you think you throw it beyond him, he's the only one that'll actually end up running under it, and that will help open things up. We saw in some of those preseason games, I think it was the one against the Lions, where 3 guys ran with Xavier Worthy. So I think, Jeff, you're 100% right. You cannot turn the football over at the rate that he has been turning it over. The turnovers have to come down. But I think part of the solution to getting there can be what Sam's saying. Go deep. Force them to defend the deep ball.
And my thing is, what happens if you don't complete that? Now you're in 2nd and 10, or you get a penalty, and now you're in 3rd and 15.
But are you in?
This offense can't live in that.
Yeah, but
drives over.
Oh, they can live in it more. They've lived in it better than anybody has.
Not now.
Patrick Mahomes era.
Not now.
But don't you think when you come back on 2nd and 10 and you run Xavier deep, that somebody goes with them, and you've got a better chance to find Kelce or Watson or anybody else at 12 yards and pick up a first down?
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds the way defense works, but all these teams that face the Chiefs and any team anywhere playing football, you're looking at formations, you're looking at personnel groupings, you're looking at down and distance. All these things determine how you're going to play them. And so a deep shot on first down is not the same as a deep shot on second down. Like, they know what you're going to try to do. And so it's not going to be as simple as you run deep, we'll throw it to you, and they'll just loosen up. Like, even that play with the Chargers, you could tell the corner, just safety obviously jumped Kelce's route, but the corner played it as if that little stutter step by Xavier Worthy was going to lead to some kind of a comeback or an underneath route, and they just got beat. I mean, they're going to sit on the deep shots with him because he's not going to do anything underneath.
Yeah, I mean, he actually told Patrick Mahomes at practice last week, he said, okay, like, I'm going to do a stutter step on this. And Patrick Mahomes said, if you're going to stutter, you better make it quick because I want to get it to you. Yeah. The larger point to me, though, is like Patrick Mahomes for 4 years running now has thrown the fewest tight window passes in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
And we're now talking about a wide receiver group. I mean, Rashee Rice is their best separator off the line of scrimmage. He's not here anymore. Travis Kelce's turned 35 this week. You just don't have the same group that's going to have separation, in which case, like, I think some of this is he's going to have to grow more comfortable mentally throwing into tighter windows. And if I'm throwing into tighter windows, I want to do that 45 yards down the field when, the risk versus reward balance shifts.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. We'll talk about some of the other guys that might be able to step up. First, we'll let you know we're brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Let our man Dave take care of any and all of your insurance needs. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gay and Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Get your seal coating done now before the weather turns cold. Weekends are booking up fast. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. All right, let's talk about some of the guys that might be able to replace some of the production there. JuJu Smith-Schuster, a lot was said, Jeff, when he was brought in that, you know, he plays the same position as Rashee Rice. He's not going to step right in. He's kind of the backup to Rashee Rice. How much of Rashee Rice's production can he replace?
Well, I really think he's going to have to be a big part of this because I just don't. They talked about Justin Watson doing that in the preseason when Marquise Brown went down, and we haven't seen much of that. I think he's got like 5 catches or something like that so far. So JuJu is an option. Now, whether he's a great option, I don't know, because I don't think he's the same player he was a couple of years ago when he was here. He couldn't stay healthy and couldn't be productive in New England. Granted, a much different situation with the quarterback and the offense and the head coach. But if anybody's going to be the guy on those plays that Rashee Rice has been making, he has to be it. Like there's really nobody else I can see in that offense who can come close to doing what Rashee did.
Yeah. JuJu Smith-Schuster, how much do you think he can give the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm skeptical. I mean, he's got 2 catches this year. But look, I mean, we're not talking about like the Chiefs don't have a like-for-like replacement for Rashee Rice on the roster. So, yes, I think JuJu Smith-Schuster is the player who's most going to benefit in terms of a higher snap count. But the Chiefs' solution is going to have to be scheme related. You know, I'm watching last night's game. And Sterling Shepard gets brought off the practice squad and catches a touchdown for the Buccaneers. And one of my first thoughts is how rare this is for the Kansas City Chiefs to have, you know, these like wide receiver 5, even wide receiver 4s contribute these like significant, meaningful plays consistently. I mean, Justin Watson is their number 3 wide receiver this year with 6 catches in 4 games. Their number 4 wide receiver, JuJu Smith-Schuster, has 2 catches, which, by the way, was why, you know, I mean, they're not using wide receiver 7, let alone wide receiver 6, wide receiver 5. They're not even using wide receiver 4.
They got back to that.
They're not even using wide receiver 4 now.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 catches, like this has to be scheme related to solve some of these issues. And I say that as if it's easy. It's not. I mean, they don't have the extreme talented personnel that they entered training camp with. Their 2 most talented guys are gone. But I think it's going to have to be JuJu Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson. I think Noah Gray is going to see a heavier target share as well. But, I mean, look, at some point, like they need more from the bottom of their roster. And I recognize that they do have to use the bottom of their roster more than some other teams. But some other teams are getting more than 2 catches out of their 4th wide receiver.
You know, Jeremy points out, hey, the Lions are getting help from Tim Patrick. Why can't the Chiefs find a guy like that? Other people have our buddy Eric Eager and the Panthers moving Deontay Johnson. We know Davante Adams is the big name. Listen, the cap doesn't work without some drastic changes. So we bring it up because the name gets brought up by people. Why not Davante Adams? I think in this group, I want to point out that we've got names that are much more attainable that are being put up. So thanks to the Red, Gold, and Bold listeners who are a little bit more in sync with what's going on in the NFL than some of the average fans that might be out there. Davante Adams is a pipe dream, Jeff. Like, I don't see how it comes together. Do you see anything else that could come together?
Well, again, it's like you're talking about, we had this conversation on our previous podcast, just about one, you have to have teams that are interested in making a deal. And two, you have to look at players who are actually available to you. As you said, Davante Adams, the money is not a factor. The Raiders being part of that trade is not a factor. I've had debates with people about, well, the Browns aren't going anywhere and they should be getting rid of somebody, and the Titans aren't going anywhere. It's like these teams, a lot of these teams look at what's happened in the NFL over the last 3 or 4 years for the 17-game schedule and think that they can be in the mix in December if they're hanging around, have a chance at 8-9 wins. And so, yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come down to them having to rely on what they have in-house. You look at what they've traded before in the past. There's been big names out there before, but what have they wound up with? Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney, two players on teams going nowhere that people didn't really want. And we see what those guys' careers have borne out. So they're not getting somebody who's got like borderline Hall of Fame credentials. It's going to be somebody who is probably about what they have already.
Yeah. What do you think, Sam? Is there a magic bullet out there that they can find out on the trade market? Do you want to shock the world and say, yes, I think that Davante Adams is a target for the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, I mean, I'll just echo everything Jeff said. I mean, it's first of all, it takes two teams. Second of all, the Chiefs, I mean, need in this era, as far as the way they're paying their quarterback, to build their team through the draft. And so I don't think giving up top draft assets for a rental is a good idea. But it comes down to what you said on Tuesday, Soren, which is like, how much are you willing to just go all in to be the first team that's ever three-peated in the NFL? Because if you do make significant move of some sort, that's going to sacrifice a future, and you don't have a lot of draft capital. You don't have a lot of dollars. And so, yeah, it's going to have a long-term effect if you lose, let's say, a third-round pick, for example. Like, that has a trickle-down long-term effect on future seasons. And I can't see how something significant makes a ton of sense, even if it makes a ton of sense for the right now.
Yeah, I think that they need their draft picks, right? They're an expensive top-heavy roster.
Yeah.
So they need their draft picks. They've got more guys they're going to have to make decisions on last year. They're probably going to be walking on Nick Bolton and Trey Smith this offseason, so you're going to need replacements there. They're going to either have to pay Trent McDuffie or walk on him. That's going to be a decision they have to make at the end of this season on whether or not they'll put the fifth year on him for sure. I'm confident of that. But beyond that, this would be a time that you would extend him if you want to try to keep that price down here in the near future. So they do have a lot of other time. Like, just trading for expensive guys is not normally going to be the plan. But if I were going to do it, I'd do it for a wide receiver one. I'd do it for a left tackle. I'd do it for an edge rusher. I'd do it for a number one corner. I'd do it for the premium positions, but I got to know I'm getting more than a year. And what do you think you're getting out of Davante Adams at 32? I think people are sniffing around better with Christian Kirk's. And, I know Renee here said Christian Kirk. I think that's a better idea, although that's a big price tag too. You don't realize how much money he got. He blew up the wide receiver market.
Yeah.
He was really the guy
that $30 million, so owed to him or something like that.
Yeah, he was the guy that really blew it up. And so you'd be really surprised. Now, the signing bonus would stay behind. The number would be cheaper for the Chiefs, so on and so forth. But even Christian Kirk he doesn't fit. Like, you'd have to renegotiate to make Christian Kirk fit. But I think they don't like to bring in, like in free agency, look at guys that are 25, 26.
Yeah.
27, 28, they're not, that's too old. They want guys that are young. They know younger is healthier, and they've been really healthy until this year. But look, and we'll get to Kareem Hunt in a minute. He's on the injury list, partially because he didn't have training camp, also because he's 28, 29. He's getting old in years. It's like, you want a healthy roster, not a bunch of other old guys. Like DeAndre Hopkins, no chance. They didn't want DeAndre Hopkins when they could get him for nothing. And what has DeAndre Hopkins done in the last 2 years? Right? I saw that name up there. Like, well, with Mahomes, he'd be great again. Well, earlier, we had a comment. I did so far back, I'd have to find it, but I put it up there. Well, it's clear that Mahomes doesn't make wide receivers better. Well, then you don't want DeAndre Hopkins, if that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
I just talked about the fact that Patrick Mahomes will not throw tight window passes, and that's DeAndre Hopkins' strength is catching tight window passes.
Yeah,
it's a tough offense, too, to pick up for anybody, even veterans.
Yeah, I agree. They don't. That's not what they want to do. They want to create separation in space and get people more open. Right. That's what they're trying to accomplish here. I'm having a hard time seeing the fit that's out there for the Chiefs with what's going on right now. I just don't see who it is that lines up with them. How about multiple tight end sets, Jeff? Is that the answer here?
I think it's an option. I mean, they've had success with that in plenty of years past. Now, I don't know where Jared Wiley is on that. If you're having 3 tight ends, all 3 need to be legitimate weapons for you. But it's one way. Like, you can do that. I could see a world where you do that and Kareem Hunt's part of your passing game, and you can probably get people into base defense and try to create matchups off that. A lot depends on Kareem Hunt being able to, or even Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he's back. He's still a decent receiver. Got a lot of other shortcomings, but that's one way to do it. And I do think that short of doing what Sam's talking about and trying to manufacture big plays down the field, if you're going to go to a more ball control type offense and trying to create more opportunities for Kelce to do some things, that's probably the best way to do it.
Sam, are you on board with the 3 tight ends?
Well, the Chiefs are on board with it. I mean, they've used it 14% of the time. It's the 3rd most usage in the NFL, and it's nearly twice the rate that they were using 13 personnel a year ago. And look, they're good with it. They're 7th in the league in EPA on 13 personnel. So yeah, but look, they've also run the ball a lot more out of these formations. Last year, they used it as a way to sort of try and trick the defense into saying, okay, we want to get open downfield, so trust us, we're running on this play. And they still passed more out of 13 personnel than running the ball last year. Like, most teams run out of it, and the Chiefs are. It's one of the reasons why they have the highest success rate in the league on running plays this year, is because they put bigger bodies on the field, and defenses aren't adjusting to their bigger bodies. But that's also one of the things for me to monitor going forward is when the Chiefs' offensive personnel changes, i.e. you don't have Rashee Rice, our team's going to defend the run more. This has been the Chiefs' solution a lot for the first month of the season for some of their passing game struggles is, you know what, we've got a pretty good running offense. We can run behind Trey Smith and behind Creed Humphrey, and those guys have been terrific, and let's just run the ball. And now I think teams are going to respect that a lot more because they're going to fear the passing game less. So I'm interested to see how a team, this is why I talked about on Tuesday the fact that the Chargers didn't game plan to not play against Rashee Rice. The Saints are going to be game planning that Rashee Rice is not going to be part of your offense. And so here's what we can do differently because of that. And I think part of it could be trying to take away the run a little bit more.
I'm of the opinion if you give a guy a 3-year, $18 million deal, you better be able to produce. Like Noah Gray, you also take. Sorry, Eric, if you've got time there in Carolina to check us out today, we know Eric loved him some Noah Gray. Look, I do like him. I like Noah Gray. But 3 for 18 is a lot if you're just going to be the backup tight end. Right, particularly
if you're going to give him 3 for 18.
Well, and you're giving
3 catches for 18 yards.
Yeah, right. And you're giving $13 million to the guy in front. Like, that's a lot of money wrapped up in the tight ends. The freaking tight ends better produce. You better be able to get something done in the 2 tight ends, right? Noah Gray better be able to block if you're going to run, and he better be able to catch if you're going to throw. And same thing for Wiley, right? Like that, 4th round pick's not the highest pick in the world, but it's a sound investment at the tight end position. You don't have to. Only teams like the Falcons take Pitts in the top 5. Okay. That's just not how you play it. So I do think it should be one of the solutions because they carry all these freaking tight ends. So let's see them produce, right?
49 snaps this year for Jared Wiley, 1 catch. And this was a person that the Chiefs talked a lot about in training camp.
Yeah. For me, I just think we need to see a little bit more. Listen, if you want to see more pizza, Minsky's is the place for you. All new at Minsky's. World champion KC linebacker Drew Tranquill's game day gourmet pizza creation, the Tranquillo Crunch. Loaded up with the meats. You got to have that protein, sausage, capicola, ground beef, mozzarella, pepperoni, a dusting of Romano and oregano, plus the extra special Panko Crunch crust. Make up the pizza that's fit for a champion. Better yet, every Tranquillo Crunch pizza ordered this season benefits Operation Breakthrough. Use promo code PETRO3 for $3 off a large Tranquillo Crunch. Now through October 31st, the Tranquillo with Panko crust is available at all 17 KC Metro locations only for this season, so make sure to get it at Minsky's. We're also brought to you by our friends at KeyCam.
Get your keys to the kingdom at Key Cannabis Dispensaries. Unlock unbeatable savings and a chance to win a KC VIP game day experience when you shop at Key Cannabis throughout the month of September. In September, every $65 you spend will enter you to win. Save on product and qualify for an exclusive Black Friday game day giveaway. It's a win-win. Visit any of our 12 locations in Missouri to learn more or visit keycannabis.com/sweepstakes for full contest rules and conditions.
Let's talk about the backfield, gentlemen. Kareem Hunt is on the injury report with a shoulder. Sam talked about how sore he was going to be. I think it's clear he is sore. That's one of the things you don't build up the support muscles that come with taking that kind of pounding. So they got to be a little bit careful. I said last week, 14 carries is plenty, I think, really for the whole year, even when he's in the rhythm of things. Do they have to back off a little bit here this week to try to make sure that, they don't wear him out before he's in true football shape?
Oh yeah, definitely. Sam said this last week. Carson still has got to be part of this package moving forward, even though he has had fumble issues. You can't put a ton on a 29-year-old running back who hadn't been playing any football, serious football since the last 10 months. I don't think I liked what I saw from Kareem Hunt. It surprised me, the burst, the toughness, the whole. He wasn't as fast as he's been before, but I saw a lot of good things. But it's like you do this a long time, and you don't want to fall in love with guys and go against what is common sense. Like he's probably going to get hurt at some point. He's probably going to be on the injury report a lot. Again, if they're able to use him as part of something, of rotation, that's great. And I think that should start this weekend.
Yeah. What do you think? What's the mix look like for you this week, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to have to be just that, a mix. I mean, it certainly is not a situation where Kareem Hunt has suddenly emerged as this like workhorse running back. But something that's been interesting to me is like Andy Reid continues to say that Carson Steele has no history of this fumbling. He fumbled 7 times in 3 years in college, like 7 times in 35 games, 37 games, something like that. That's a lot. Like this is something that he's got to correct. And I don't know what's in Andy Reid's mind right now as far as the trust he has in Carson Steele not to turn the ball over. And at what point does it take, like, how long does it take him to work his way back into the offense? I think we're just in the dark about whether or not he's part of the game plan at all this week, for example.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I would say LaShawn McCoy never came back from it, right? That was back when he was here, and he was Andy's boy going way back to the Philly days. Yeah. And so he started dropping the ball. He went into witness protection real fast. Like he never carried it again.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a big question mark. Like, do they put him back out? Because he was back in the game, as we talked about last week. He was in for the interception. He was in right after in the next series. He kind of finished out the first quarter. They stuck with the game plan, so they didn't walk away from him. But he did look shell shocked on the sideline too. Like he was wide eyed. Like, did my career just leave town?
Totally agree. Yeah.
If Isaiah Pacheco comes back, we talked about it, Jeffrey. Like, well, who else are you going to sit down if it's not him? I do think he's shown enough tackle breaking ability that I don't know that a practice squad. I don't think he gets to the practice squad. So, and if you're going to be more of a run based, and if you got to turn take down the number of turnovers, you want to run the football. I think you're going to need the depth of running backs. I just don't think any running back can carry it like Adrian Peterson did back in the day. I think the game is too physical now, the way it works, and I think you need a running back by committee. So I think Andy Reid's got to settle in to what that committee is, how you get enough carries and touches for people with rhythm. And I'll tell you something else. Somebody said, well, what about P. Ryan? I'm the 100% president of the P. Ryan Club.
I like him.
I don't see what's wrong with how he runs the ball, let alone catches.
Did he set the record at college for most yards in a game?
Yes.
He never carried the football.
Was that against KU?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember our Chiefs beat writer, Jesse Newell, was very familiar with P. Ryan. I was kind of like, why do you know this guy so well? Well, he covered KU football for like 8 years, and a lot of running backs got loose on KU back in those days, but nobody more than P. Ryan.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, listen, we'll see how it gets divided up. We'll see. We all agree Kareem Hunt's going to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he will.
He'll be out there.
You did, but not much more of a workload than he got last week. That's what I'm expecting.
I totally agree with that too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's where we're headed there. All right. Tyrann Mathieu. I know you wrote a number of stories on him, Sam. He's moved on to the New Orleans Saints, has played good football. We're 3 years removed from this now. Justin Reid was obviously the replacement. We know his comments at that time. You quoted him saying, well, I'd have taken that contract. Did the Chiefs make a mistake? They'll see him along with potentially Colin Saunders and Willie Gay Jr. They'll see Tyrann Mathieu up close and personal with the Saints on Monday night. Did they make a mistake in moving on from Tyrann Mathieu?
So I'll preface this by saying I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, as if it makes it okay if you preface it by saying you're going to. But look, they've missed, like, Tyrann Mathieu would have been a great signing. He's played 2.5 now terrific years of football for the Saints, and he's been good in the very specific issues that we've talked about this year with the Chiefs, which he's a safety who can cover. He's great in coverage. You can put him in a lot of different spots. And another issue that's been with the Chiefs is he creates turnovers. He's had 9 interceptions in 2 years and a month in New Orleans and we're talking about it. We cover a Chiefs team that does not create turnovers. He's also been involved in fumble recoveries. Like, he is a playmaking safety in a very specific spot in which the Chiefs have not made a lot of plays at the safety position since he left. Having said that, I don't think the Chiefs should use this as some sort of example to start signing veteran players, to start signing players who are going to be in their 30s to 3-year contracts. The Chiefs have been very intentional about signing players in their early 20s, their mid 20s. I mean, Justin Reid was like a 23-year-old, 24-year-old free agent, which was rare. Like, he was young when he came out of college. He hit free agency early, therefore, and that was definitely part of the lure for the Chiefs, is they didn't want to get slower. They wanted to get faster, and they wanted to have, more confidence about health, and all that stuff happens when you're younger as opposed to older. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the Chiefs would have been better off signing Tyrann Mathieu. I just don't think it should be. I think it's more of an outlier. I don't think it's going to be part of some trend that you say they should have signed a bunch of guys who were going on 30, 31, 32 years old.
I think if you just look at what he did in New Orleans, you might be like, okay, we should have gone that way. But Terry makes a good point. He was disappointing his last year. There were a lot of times where he seemed to be making business decisions, Jeff. At least that was the theme around him. Did they miss the boat in not bringing him back?
I think Tyrann Mathieu was brought here for a very specific reason, and that was to help a defense that was really lacking in leadership when they got rid of Justin Houston and Eric
100%,
Berry and all these guys. So I think he had served they got what they needed from him in that capacity.
Yes.
And when he left, they were at a point where they're thinking, Tyreek Hill is becoming a pain in the ass with this contract, and there's a lot of, complaining on social media. I remember back then, him and Anthony Hitchens going at fans, and it just felt like it was time for something new. But the big thing for him that I thought got him out of town was, and the Chiefs tend to do this really well, is they had a replacement for him. And it wasn't Justin Reid, it was L'Jarius Sneed, who could do the things in the slot and be that versatile player at corner, even talking about doing some safety stuff back then that Tyrann Mathieu was known for. And so there was a lot more comfort with letting him go at that point. He's played great since then, but I think that was a big reason why he left town, was because they knew they could move on without him and not feel the pain. And they haven't felt the pain without him.
You can't argue with the results, can you?
No.
I mean, it's clearly worked with Justin Reid.
No.
But
I think Justin Reid and Sneed were part of that. And Shamari Connor, they found guys to do. He was a unicorn when he left.
I think it's a great point that you make, that L'Jarius Sneed is actually the guy that replaced a lot of what it was he did. I think that's a fantastic point. And they had that in the wings. And that's the thing. It may be, I think, I don't think Sam's wrong. I think he's clearly played very good football down at New Orleans. And so keeping him wouldn't have been a bad idea. But that's what you've got to figure out, is the mix of what do you have and what can you move on from? Because you're not going to be able to keep them all. They're in all likelihood going to move on from Nick Bolton and Trey Smith. Those are good football players. Right? Willie Gay is a good football player. He may not be great. He may not be first team all pro, but he is a good football player. And, you just can't keep them all. If you're doing your job at Brett Veach's desk, you're going to have too many good guys, and it has to always be that way. And it's why I say running around and picking up guys off other people's cuts, they're doing it at running back, and they're making it work. And maybe that's the one position you can do it, but it's not plan A. Right. And I think I think it shows that their talent acquisition and evaluation has been pretty good, because they haven't done a lot of that. They usually are the ones cutting people that end up someplace else.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I would like to underscore what Jeff said about, like, Tyrann Mathieu didn't just change the production of the Chiefs defense. He changed the attitude of a defense that cost them a Super Bowl berth the year before he was in Kansas City. And I still think that has trickle-down effects today. I asked Patrick Mahomes yesterday about Tyrann Mathieu in the locker room, and he says he's still using habits that Tyrann Mathieu taught him in leadership. As far as you talk to the guys in the locker room, and they'll tell you nobody played harder in practice than Tyrann Mathieu did. And when you've got a team that is accustomed to winning, like, there's some example setting that needs to happen and those sort of things. The fact that practice matters, and great leader. And I think that's the number one thing people will tell you about playing with Tyrann Mathieu, even above all the production he's had, is his leadership was just terrific.
I also will credit him. First interview I've ever done of a guy laying flat on his back, which was he's relaxed. He's like,
massage.
No, he was just laying there, had his feet up on his stool. I said, Tyron, you can have a couple of minutes, at some point. Chad, he goes, I'm good right now. I said, oh, okay. And I got down on a knee and did the interview while he laid there, getting ready for practice. So
nobody was more available in the locker room for us than Tyrann Mathieu. And I know the stuff he had with social media, and I understand why it upset fans, but there's no better person I've dealt with, I think, in an NFL locker room than Tyrann Mathieu.
I agree. Tyrann Mathieu's great. And he was so great that it pissed off PR and they quit letting him be available in the locker room, and they put him on a podium. And all of a sudden we only got him once a week. Like, he started that. And then Chris Jones wanted that job, and now Chris Jones comes out half asleep half the time. Like,
Soren, I can tell you, Soren, I hope nobody tuned in right as you started telling that story about him laying down and you getting down on one knee and putting something in his face. I hope that
the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, very important. Very important to ensure your car, everything. David Starnes Allstate Insurance can do that for you. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations: North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems? They've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about what challenges the Saints present. What is it the Chiefs are going to have to do to win this game against New Orleans, Jeff?
What they've been doing is find ways to make it happen. I give this team a ton of credit throughout this run they've had. They've been really very good at this, but they've found ways to win games when it hasn't been pretty, when they haven't been able to play the way they want to play. The Saints are going to pose a serious challenge because they even now they still have the highest scoring offense in the league, but their defense is really good too. And so the opportunities to go out there and score a lot of points, even with a good offense, we're going to be tough. But they have a really good secondary. They've got a lot of veterans. You're talking about Cam Jordan and Demario Davis on that side of it. But Derek Carr and Clint Kubiak are a pretty good combination right now. Alvin Kamara out of the backfield is going to be tough. Chris Olave. You're talking about that speedster Rashid Shaheed. So they got some offensive line issues at center with Eric McCoy banged up. And Cesar Ruiz is banged up as well. But, this is going to be a close game. It's going to be tough on them.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara is a spot that I look at. I know the Chiefs have done great against the feature backs out there, limiting them to just like 2.3 yards per carry in the first 4 games. Alvin Kamara is a little different. B.J. Robinson can catch the ball out of the backfield. They didn't really get that going, but Alvin Kamara is a different kind of back. That's one of the ones that I'm really looking at, Sam. What are you looking at as far as the challenges the Saints present?
Yeah, the running game. I mean, the Saints run the ball more than any team in the NFL. There's only 7 teams that run the ball more than they pass it. And the Saints run the ball 57% of the time. Like, there is a large gap and they're good at it. They do it because they're good at it. And the other thing is, also when they pass, they're still playing off the run. They run play action at a significantly higher rate than most teams in the league. I think they're 5th in the league. They're like 30% of their plays are play action. And so I think what we've seen, I mean, Jeff mentioned Kubiak. We've seen an offensive coordinator that is putting Derek Carr in a better position than most offensive coordinators have in Derek Carr's career. He's not had a lot of success at Arrowhead. He's won 1 time. His quarterback rating in 7 of the 9 games has been below like 75. Like, he's not been a successful quarterback at Arrowhead Stadium. And I think he's the same quarterback, but I think he's got an offensive coordinator that's putting him in a better position for success. And so therefore, it's not the same offense that he's running, even if it is the same quarterback with the same skill set that he's had. So you're right, Soren. I mean, we've talked for a month now about the Chiefs have suddenly stopped the running game, which they didn't do last year. They didn't do the year before. It was always the weakness, even when their defense was good. That's going to have to be their strength on Monday night, is defending the run.
I think so. Monday Night Football crowd, an extra day of rest in this situation for the Chiefs, for the Saints as well. But, just a chance here. And then the bye on the other side. Do you worry about the bye being a look-ahead situation, Jeff? And it's not a division game. It's not a conference game. They've had some slip-ups with those in the past. Any chance that happens here on Monday night?
I don't know if you can look ahead given what they're dealing with right now with all these injuries. I think it's just like it's survive and advance for them right now. So I think they'll take the game seriously and be ready for it. And I think they win it, but it's going to be low scoring. I'll take them 17-16.
Okay. 17-16. Chiefs by 1. It's a barn burner, according to Jeff. Sam, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I've got something similar. I've got Chiefs 20-17.
Okay. The number's 5.5. I took the Chiefs minus the points. I actually think this is one the Saints are kind of coming back to reality. I think the expectation is the Chiefs know Rashee Rice, so I think there might be a little bit of an overreaction here against the Chiefs. I think they offensively still have some weapons. I just think the Saints are kind of meh. Right. I know they looked really good in that first game, and that's kind of got an aftertaste in everyone's mouth thinking these Saints might be good. I think they're meh. And I think the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I think this is one. I'm gonna take them to handle business here. I'm gonna go 27-13.
Wow.
Chiefs in this one. I think they
27 points with that offense, man. Soren is still. Yeah, it's good that we got these dispensaries working with us. Soren can get that stuff pretty cheap.
We are always brought to you by a variety of different sponsors, all of which we are proud to partner with. And we hope that you'll support the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast by supporting our sponsors like David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331 or stop by in person in locations including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Of course, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. With us from the beginning, no commissions, in-house crews, free consultations. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Key Cannabis, go to KeyCannabis.com/sweepstakes. If you want to get in on their KC VIP game day experience, you can do it. In September, every $65 you spend will enter you to win. And of course, our good friends at Minsky's. Check out the latest creation from linebacker Drew Tranquil, their gourmet pizza, the Tranquillo Crunch. You can get it right now at all 17 KC metro area locations and use the promo code Petro3, Petro3, the number 3, not spelled out, Petro3, and get $3 off a large Tranquillo Crunch. Make sure you use that promo code Petro3. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, NFL.com. Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. I'm Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City saying thank you very much for enjoying and for joining us and hopefully enjoying the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.